In-Betweeners reactions are coming soon. Okay? They're coming soon. I got the cult of the In-Betweeners is after me, and I can't get away. So, me and the Queen will be recording them tonight. And then we will post them in 3 months. You Muppets! Just kidding, I love you guys. It'll come out either tomorrow or the next day. I don't know. But we're recording them tonight. We're going to do 2 episodes tonight. So, that being said, I hope they saw this, because I'm still getting people coming after me. Stewart Lee, we're going to do a Stewart Lee reaction. I did a reaction a little over a month ago to Stewart Lee, and I must say I found it more interesting than funny. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it immensely. He seems like a very bright guy, or bright bloke, as you guys would say. His humor is very dry, but the stuff he was talking about, I was very tuned in to what he was saying, because it was so damn interesting. There were some funny bits in there, though, so I don't want you guys to think that I don't think he's funny. I think he is. It's just I found him more interesting than funny. Whoops, this thing's way over here. There we go, that's a little better. I got the hiccup, sorry, I just ate. Blech. But Stewart Lee, this is a couple of the Stewart Lee fans suggested I react to something called Braveheart, so here it is. I was going to do a different one, but because I know I've had a lot of requests for the Braveheart piece, I'm going to do that one for you guys. So, without further ado, here's Stewart Lee. Let's see how interesting this one is. I'm sure it's going to be good. This is a smart guy. So here we go.
But I was making a number of kind of crass generalisations about Americans that I don't really believe any of them. I did it for comic effect, and I don't understand how anyone can have a kind of generalised view about another nation or race. I certainly don't, and I think it's because I'm different to a lot of you. I'm not necessarily better, but I am. I'm different, and I'm better. Let's face it. And I think it's because I feel a little bit kind of removed from your human society, because I'm adopted. I'm an adopted man, and so I'm suspicious of notions of identity or nationhood. For example, I grew up thinking that I was English, right? But about 2 years ago I found out, this is true, I found out that my real father is Scottish, right? Which of course means that I'm Scottish, because as you'll know, Scottishness is passed on through the male genes. Right? A disability. And
Whoa! With a disability. Oh shit! I hope he's doing this bit in Scotland. That would be dope, as Queen Boomer would say. That would be very dope.
It overwhelms all female chromosomes, and that's why there are no Scottish women. No Scottish women. None. There are men in kilts, but that's just nature trying to find its own level. And if a Scottish man wants to breed, of course, you have to travel south of the border. Normally, you get as far as a major English railway station, get off the train, lie down in a gutter drunk, and hope some pollen lands on you.
Oh, fuck. Is this going to be one of those skits where he eviscerates people and they love it? That would be a treat.
And I can say that, remember, because technically I am Scotch. Yeah, Scotch, yeah. Genetically, if not culturally. But I think that, even though I grew up thinking I was English, I think I always knew that I was one of you, because I'd go into school Monday mornings and people would go, "Did you see the sport at the weekend, Stu? The brilliant sport that all men must like, with England winning in it. It was good, wasn't it?" And I go, "No, in fact it filled me with feelings of revulsion and disgust." Then they go to me, "What about the rich tapestry, the tableau of English culture and history? Do you take no pleasure in that?" And I go, "No, in fact, the whole notion of English culture just makes me feel kind of mentally, physically and spiritually bereft." And they go, what about the English language, the tongue of Shakespeare, Shelley, Blake, Churchill? Does that not stir some residual national pride in you? And I go, no, in fact, whenever I hear an English accent, I have to be physically sick. And I would hear my own voice answering their question, and I would start vomiting as I spoke. So as a child, I hated being English. And yet, conversely, I always harboured secret cravings for shortbread, offal and heroin.
Oh my God.
You know,
He seemed to like
heroin if I could get it. With sauce. Heroin supper, $2.95. But so I think I always knew Glasgow. Hardly believe this is happening. I always knew that I was a Scotch man, and so I always knew. Yeah, Scottish. Thank you for correcting me. Sorry.
He's doing that on purpose. He's definitely doing that on purpose. Scotch is what you drink. I've never heard, even here, you don't hear that mistake. I've never heard an American call a Scottish person a Scotch person. Never heard that. Ever. I don't think. At least I don't, not that I can remember. I can see why that would piss people off. But I think he's doing it on purpose, so let's continue.
It was an error I made on purpose for comic effect. And I'm glad that there's so little trust in me in the room that people are going, he's a fucking idiot. He doesn't know. He's insane. What's he talking about? He hasn't done the most basic research. But even despite that, I always knew that I was Scottish in my heart, in my brave heart. I always knew that I was. Okay, shout out if you've seen the film Braveheart. You've all seen it. Shout out. Okay, now you'll know more than any other audience I've played in the last 3 weeks that Braveheart is the shittest film ever made, right? It was directed by the reactionary Catholic bigot Mel Gibson, and it's full of basic fundamental historical errors which insult your race and mine by association, right? Here's just 3 off the top of my head. Firstly, William Wallace, Braveheart, your national hero. He wasn't some...
Okay, before we keep going, I like the Braveheart movie, but I will. It's not one of my favorites. I think it's a good movie, and a lot of people seem to like it. I can see why people would hate it, though. It is one of the most historically inaccurate movies ever made. I can definitely see why the English wouldn't like it. But this is interesting because I've never heard any Scottish people say anything bad about the film. Maybe I just haven't heard any Scottish people talk about the film. That's probably the case, but it was a movie I enjoyed. In contrast, in comparison, Gladiator is my favorite movie of all time, and that is very historically inaccurate. But it's one of those things where, Gladiator was it's my favorite film of all time. I watch it every year at least once, and it's fucking fantastic. But it's so historically inaccurate. But it's also the film that really got me into wanting to learn everything I could about history, particularly ancient history. Because that movie came out. When did that movie come out? 2000? Yeah, so I was 12 years old, and it was one of those experiences where you not knowing much of anything about history, you felt like you were actually transported into Roman times. But I loved the movie, and then I went, well, what were the times really like? And then that piqued my interest and started making me research the Roman Republic first, and then the Roman Empire. So it's one of those, even though films like that, they can be really historically inaccurate, they can really inflame your passion for actually finding out what the real history was. I think 300's another film like that. That film is ridiculous. I still love it, though. It's, one of those macho films, but after that movie, I was like, well, were the Spartans really like this? I mean, were they really that badass? And in some ways, yeah, but in a lot of ways, no. And then you research what Agent Sparta was actually like, and it's even more interesting than the goofy, fantastical film that you watch. So it's one of those things where, you know, even a very historically inaccurate movie can inflame your desire for knowledge of the past. You know what I mean? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, sorry guys.
A race, and mine by association, right? Here's just three off the top of my head. Firstly, William Wallace, Braveheart, your national hero. He wasn't some, you know, noble savage living in a mud hut. We all know that. He was a privileged, educated nobleman, right? Secondly, it's not mentioned by Mel Gibson in the film, but there's some evidence to suggest that he actually fought as a mercenary for the English as a teenager. That's conveniently missed out. Thirdly, you know that French princess? He's supposed to have sex with this French princess in the film, you remember? And the implication is that he gets her pregnant and she marries Edward II of England, so it's his kid. Now, she was a real historical figure, that French princess. But at the time of the death of William Wallace, Braveheart, your national hero, she was only 4 years old. Now, Glasgow, I'm not saying that William Wallace, Braveheart, your national hero, didn't have sex with her.
Yeah, he's walking a fine line right here. Oh my God.
You know, he probably did. If I look at my own personal background, there's a lot of sexual opportunism involved in it. But
oh my God.
Not saying he didn't have sex, he probably did. But if he did, and he did, he definitely did, right? It would have been a far less romantic scene than the one enacted by Mel Gibson in the film Braveheart. It may have happened in a tent, but it would still have been not a romantic scene, because that would have made William Wallace, Braveheart, your national hero, a paedophile. A Scottish paedophile.
Oh my God.
The worst kind of paedophile that there is. Coming at you through a bothy with shortbread on its face, muttering unintelligible sexual threats in a frankly incomprehensible dialect.
Oh my God. There's I noticed the one guy in the black shirt walking out of the room. Maybe he just had to take a piss, so we don't know. But everybody's on eggshells in here. This is brilliant. I'm loving this. I gotta wipe away some fucking laughter tears. Sorry, guys.
But another weird thing about that film is, you know, in it, like, fine, leave at this point. It gets worse. The man leaving there to go away and think about the idea of...
Yeah, this is great stuff. Holy shit.
The thing about that film is, you know, in it, like, fine, leave at this point. It gets worse. The man leaving there to go away and think about the idea of a paedophile Braveheart in the privacy of the toilet cubicle. But it's not the other weird thing about that film is that in it, if you remember, like, Mel Gibson makes a big deal about the fact that Edward II, the English prince, was gay, right? As if not only did he oppress the Scots, but he did it in a kind of a gay way, which makes it worse. But the irony is, again, it's not mentioned in the film, that William Wallace, Braveheart, your national hero himself, was actually gay. And no, he was, sir, and we know this from some information that's come to light in the last couple of years. Firstly, about 2 years ago, they found a cache of love letters hidden in a nook at Glamis Castle or somewhere. And the letters were exchanged between William Wallace and Robert the Bruce, and they were full of declarations. They were full of declarations of love and deep.
Yo, He's getting away with murder. So it's obvious now that this stand-up is taking place in Scotland. This is unbelievable. I think this is great. The balls on this guy to do this over there. Now, I've never been to Scotland. We all hear stories about how rowdy you guys are, and a lot of us actually admire that. But I think this would be, I mean, it's like poking a bear. Like, this would be a very dangerous thing to do. In my opinion, maybe you guys just, because you love all humor and people taking the piss out of everybody, maybe that's why he's getting away with it. But I don't know. This is just so perplexing and bizarre and hilarious to me that this actually happened.
Details of their sexual encounters, very vigorous sexual encounters that they had. But that's one thing. Then about a year ago, they found some graffiti on a wall, on an old Scottish wall, on the wall of a broch, actually, which is the Broch of Gurness, which is a real place in the Orkneys. They found it there, and it said the graffiti, which is real, existed. It said, "I am a gay."
Oh, what do they do not want William Wallace to be gay or something? I don't know. You know what's interesting to me? Because if you read ancient things that happen in ancient history, a lot of, particularly the men, a lot of them were not gay but bisexual. It was like a normal thing back then. And I don't know. In some ways, it's a normal thing now. But a lot of people seem to have a real problem with it now. It sounds like I'm getting political, but I just, if ancient history is loaded with tales of, bisexual relationships, then who gives a shit what people do today? I don't know. But he's really stressing the gay point here, which I don't know if that's intentional or not. Okay, anyway.
Signed, William Wallace, which is real, it existed. It said, "I am a gay." Signed, William Wallace. Braveheart, and the Braveheart bit was in inverted commas, so they knew that meant it was real. It was like a fun nickname, it's like real. So William Wallace, Braveheart, our national hero, was gay. And when I was talking about this in Edinburgh in the summer, people were going, "Why didn't we know about that?" Why? And the reason is because the graffiti and the letters were written in Gaelic, so it wasn't translated. And people are going, "Well, why wasn't it translated? That's just the ancient language of our nation, of the Scots. Why wasn't it translated?" But it wasn't. What Gaelic actually was a very kind of highly evolved form of medieval Scottish homosexual patois. And the clue's in the name, if you look at it, right? Gaelic.
That's why I laughed
gay,
at the beginning.
Homosexual gay, and then lich is language or tongue. So Gaelic is literally the language of gays. And,
oh my god! Yo, this dude has some fucking balls. He has some balls, man. Oh. I don't know many comedians that would, at least the ones that I follow, that would do anything like this. That, I mean, it's not just, I don't think thinking about it, I don't think I've seen anyone, like, go this hard on, like, a national pride in the area where that national pride is at its highest. It's, because, you have British comedians coming over to the States making fun of Americans, and maybe Americans go over there vice versa, but it's nothing like this. nothing like this. I mean, this is, you know, that, I mean, I guess this would be like, you know, somebody like a British comedian coming over here and saying, hey, you know that guy George Washington you guys like so much, him and Abraham Lincoln were very homosexual and la la la, and you know, and especially with all the religious people we got over here that take that stuff, you know, like so fucking seriously. It reminds me of something like if something like that would happen. So this is wild to me. Let's continue. I'm pausing this way too much. Sorry.
Booed off at the assembly rooms for saying this in Edinburgh, but it's true, and I don't think I think it's really great that our national hero William Wallace was gay, because Scotland's always been a much more progressive, liberally minded, and kind of a nation that's not afraid to show its feminine side. And I think that compared to England, which is a very backward, kind of bigoted place, and I think that it's really good that as we enter the 21st century, one of your national folk heroes can embody a kind of progressive notion of sexual identity. I think that's a really brilliant thing, and I wish that some of the English folk heroes, like King Alfred or Robin Hood or King Arthur, had been gay, but they weren't. And it's only William Wallace, Braveheart, the Scottish one, that definitely was gay. And of course another... Sorry? Someone said Robin Hood was surely, and someone there saying Men in Tights, but of course the Men in Tights addition to the Robin Hood legend was made in the 1980s by Mel Brooks. The facility to make those kind of tights didn't exist in medieval England.
What a retort, dude!
If it had have done, maybe they would have worn them. I'm sure that a thin dernier tight is an ideal garment for medieval combat.
No, it's not.
As it does no protection whatsoever to the human leg. But of course, the other major inaccuracy about that film, of course, is in the Middle Ages there was no such country as Scotland. Scotland was actually invented, as you all know, in 1911 by the McGowan Sweet Company.
I didn't get that reference.
As a way of marketing Highland toffee. Because, of course, traditionally we think toffee's better if it's manufactured at a high altitude.
What? I was, you know, at the end there, that was wild. At the end there, I was expecting him to flip it, and bring the. I mean, I guess he did a little bit, but I was expecting him to flip it and bring the audience back, all the way back. It felt like he brought him back a little bit, but I was thinking he was going to bring them all the way back at the very end. Kind of like he did in the last reaction I did to him, where he was, I don't think there were any Americans there to alienate, but he basically, you know, because he put up the 4 quotations from what he said were Americans, and he said 2 of them were real and 2 of them I absolutely just fucking made up, which was brilliant. Stewart Lee, I know this is an old bit. It's probably from the 90s. The one I almost reacted to was like, it looked like a fairly recent one because it looks like he's like 20 or 30 years older than he looks right here. But I'm astounded at that because that took some fucking balls to do that in Scotland, which I'm still assuming he did. I mean, everyone outside of Scotland, even here, knows that William Wallace is their national hero, and most people here know it because of that movie that he was talking about, Braveheart, which I guess some people really don't like. I like it, but it's totally historically inaccurate, and people shouldn't take it seriously. But it's yeah, I was really impressed by this. Yet again, Stewart Lee, he seems like not only a very funny and intelligent person, but very daring to do something like this. Very impressed with what I saw. And there was a comment from somebody, I think it was Doobie or something like that, where she said she's okay with, or he, I don't know if it's a he or she, but they're okay with me cursing. They're okay with cursing, but they think I do it too much, so I apologize. I'll try not to curse so damn much, okay? I'm sorry. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like, subscribe, do whatever you guys want. And if you got better Stewart Lee suggestions, put them in the comments below, and maybe I'll get around to reacting to them once I get through so many suggestions that you guys have. And the In-Betweeners cult, guess what? They're coming. We're recording them tonight. So, all right, you guys, y'all have a lovely day. And I'll see you again sometime. Peace.